Welcome to the 126th Air Refueling Wing podcast of the Illinois Air National Guard at Scott Air Force Base. I'm your host this month, Tech Sergeant Brian Ellison. The 126th Air Refueling Wing podcast focused on people, mission, and community. Coming up on this month's podcast, I'll be talking with Keeley Speck from Airman and Family Readiness. Also, it's that time of year again, tax season. I'll have information on how to take care of that and hopefully save you from much gnashing and grinding of teeth. Do you know someone who can benefit from all the 126th Air Refueling Wing has to offer? Contact Tech Sergeant Rashad Phillips at 618-222-5700 or cell 618-698-2968 or email rashad.t.phillips.mil@mail.mil. Right now, positions are open for water and fuel systems maintenance and engineering. The Illinois Air National Guard offers a monthly paycheck, free college tuition, low-cost health care insurance, which is fantastic. Last year, I used it and met my deductible by January 5th because of a bicycle accident on the Katy Trail. All these benefits and more, contact Tech Sergeant Rashad Phillips, 618-222-5700 or by cell 618-698-2968. I'm joined now by Keeley Speck from Airman and Family Readiness. Keeley, what is Airman and Family Readiness?
I always like to remind people of this about family readiness because this it's not in any AFI, it's not in any formal briefing about the program. All the program is designed to do is to remind people that they're human. That's it. That's really all it's about. And so every email we send out, every form we have people fill out, it feels like another section of the military, you know? And that the goal is so that when you come into our office, you don't feel that way. You know, and the tough part is every time people come see us, pretty much they're in uniform and they have two names on their shirt. Right? And so we always tell people, set goals, you know, make a budget, do this, go to school, do all these things. But as long as you have two names on your shirt, it's never for you. And in two parts, that's great because you're never necessarily just about yourself. There's always a bigger picture out there. But the problem with that is that you're in the same sentence, in the same words, it's never just you. So when you come and talk to us, when you talk to me or when you talk to Travis, that's our goal, is just to talk to you, just be about you. So when people come to us, we just want to get to that root of how do you really feel, what do you really like, what do you really want to be doing, and if they're not in a place in their life where they're daily checking some kind of a box that's what that person likes and wants to be doing with themselves, then we just try to help them get to that. You know, stress reduction, building relationships, maintaining relationships, embedding themselves or creating a community, you know, if it doesn't feel like it exists. Like when people deploy, sometimes when they go as a unit, it's a little easier to say there's your community, but these onesie-twosie deployments, like my old wing, it was everyone deployed pretty much on their own. We never went with like a wing mission. It was just by yourself. And so then you create that community.
When they come in, are you pointing them into a specific, like, hey, they're saying, I need help with, I don't know, tuition assistance. Do you point them in the right direction, or do you have that, you have those resources there available for you?
Yeah, so most of what we do is information and referral. We don't necessarily, so tuition assistance, they have to go to the active duty center and get the education brief from them. We can help them with the budget, but usually I like to send people to the experts, so I'll send them to the personal financial counselor. We're non-medical counseling. If it sounds like they may need to talk to a military family and life counselor or the director of psychological health, we may send them there. But a lot of times someone's just coming in to in or out process, and within that quick 5-minute conversation, one thing that they say starts to unravel, and all of a sudden issues that they had been not necessarily hiding from leadership, but didn't feel comfortable enough talking about things that felt really small to them, that long-term could be a big issue, or that they didn't realize we may have one of those quick fixes, just a random phone call. I had a question about issues I'm having at home, and the issues start to expand to the point of, oh, geez, I'm glad you called. You know, it's something as small as I just need financial help, but then when it turns into why, and there's all these other heavy issues going on in the background, you know, and so that doesn't end with us, and that's what that's why we have them sign a statement of understanding when they come in, when airmen come in and talk with us, is because it's usually we can talk through a problem, but we're not the end all. And we're the no wrong door policy. So we'll get phone calls all the time because that's the one they have in their phone. And we'll direct them, you know, because we're not their supervisor, but we're also not the active duty where you come to us and that's it. Usually we have to send out somewhere else.
What's your guys' phone number?
So the phones connect to each other, so it's 618-222-5734, or Travis extension is 5784.
Keeley Speck has more about deployments and benefits coming up on the 126th Air Refueling Wing podcast. The MilTax link on Military OneSource is going live January 22nd. MilTax is a suite of free tax services for the military, including easy-to-use tax preparation and e-filing software, personalized support from tax consultants, and current information about filing taxes in the military. It's designed to address the realities of life, of military life, including deployments, combat and training pay, housing and rentals, and multi-state filings. If you're eligible, you can file 1 federal and up to 3 state tax forms at no cost. Did you know that the military dependents are eligible to file their taxes through MilTax also? You can also talk with a MilTax consultant for military-specific questions regarding your taxes by calling 800-342-9647. All this free of charge. I know we've used it over the past couple of years. We're back now with Keeley Speck from Airman and Family Readiness. Keeley, we have deployments coming up. What support do you have for deployers?
Family support is huge. We're helping families understand care packages even, you know, what to put in it, how to pack it, how to send it. They get a free it's called a military care kit from the United States Postal Service, and it's free. And it's like, you get that thing, and it's a huge box. I think it's about 4 feet tall, filled with other packing material, other boxes, other envelopes, cool. And it's free of charge. You don't have to be a dependent to get that. So it's awesome. And it comes with these little, like, it comes with stickers and tape and everything you need. And then when you ship to an APO, it charges domestic nowadays. So it's a really low cost just to send support, especially since the ones coming up, every single deployment coming up in 2020 is over 6 months.
Oh, really?
Yes.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
You said you call dependents while they're deployed. Why do you call them?
So usually I send an email, but some airmen don't know the email of this person that they want to be supported. But either it'll be an email or a phone call back to that family member, one, to thank them of their continued support of our mission, because it's not easy. I've been the person that leaves for months at a time, and I've been the person waiting at home. At least once or twice a month, I send out an email or give a phone call of ways to deal with the stress you may be encountering, or ways to communicate from thousands of miles apart. How to, especially during the holidays, like how to have traditions while they're deployed. You know, how to continue some of that feeling, that connection. And then when they get closer to returning and they get redeployed, successful tips on how to reintegrate. Because there's a big transition period. There's that honeymoon phase, and then there's sometimes that expectation of, when I come home, there's going to be this amount of energy and this amount of excitement. And when you come home, or vice versa, and then when they're back together and that doesn't happen, this person's like, oh, I've been on a plane for 14 hours, I'm exhausted. This person's like, I've been dealing with 4 kids by myself, I'm exhausted. And that, expectation, just reducing that to reduce conflict when they get home. Because we see that a lot, where there's nothing else going on except we're back together and we don't really know how to be together again. And after that honeymoon phase, which can be hours to weeks, it just depends person to person. So that's what the outreach is for. For the deployers for 2020, I will say if anyone was interested in using tuition assistance, that you do have a required briefing for that, and those are put on by the Active Duty Education Office. And every month there's about, 8 or 9 briefings that happen over there. And the schedule comes out monthly, so I don't know too far ahead in advance, but that if they want to get free tuition assistance, it's usually only for active duty, but as a guardsman you can get it once you're activated, and since they're activated for so long this summer, they have to go to an initial counseling, and they can schedule that, or walk-ins are welcome at the education office it's right next to Burger King.
Anything else you can think of adding?
Okay, so I'll give 2 tips, and for however long until we PCS, since my husband's active duty, I want people to remember 2 things from when I was here. The first thing is going to be the rule of 6. So if you look at you put your palm out and you look at your forearm, imagine your forearm is the thing you immediately... Yeah. Okay, there we go. When something... So you're married.
Yes.
So you call your wife 3 times, she doesn't answer.
Yes.
Let's say before you called her, you got into, maybe a couple days ago you had a rough conversation. She didn't answer your call. So your forearm is going to be your initial thought of, she's doing something else. Maybe she's talking to someone else. Maybe she's ignoring me. Those negative thoughts is going to be your forearm. Now, we're not fortune tellers, so it's rarely ever that end of the world, catastrophic thinking. There's always, so then your hand is going to be those 5 other possibilities of why that thing is happening. So you called her 3 times, she didn't answer. Well, maybe she's in the bathroom. Maybe she left her phone at the grocery store. Maybe she's in a movie right now with her parents. Maybe she's with the kids and they're sick. Or maybe she's driving and the phone fell under her seat. Something like that. And that's a really simple, lame example. But there's so many times where we have that first initial thought and we just sit with it. So to reduce stress, I would just say rule of 6. Think of 5 random, and the most ridiculous, the better. Abducted by aliens or something's crazy. Because all it does is prove to you that whatever you think, that's not reality.
Right.
And if you can think of 5 totally different types of answers, then there's whole other possibilities out there that you're just not thinking of. So don't jump to conclusions on things, especially when it's negative self-talk. And then the second tip would be, we breathe automatically. We don't even have to think about it, and we just breathe. But we're terrible at it.
Yes.
It's natural, and we're terrible at it. And so a lot of times when people are stressed out, we say, take a deep breath. That is terrible advice. Scientifically, you breathe in, that increases your heart rate. And what is an increased heart rate attached with? Stress.
Stress, yes.
So you breathe out. The exhale is going to be what reduces that stress. So whenever people get caught in a moment, I like to say breathe out for an extra 2 seconds. So breathe in, 2, 3, out, 2, 3, 4, 5. And when you do that for, 30 seconds at a time, it's not going to solve your life problems, but it's going to give you that clarity to deal with whatever that is. Bad traffic, a screaming child, a nitwit's, coworker, who knows what it is. Maybe it's just things within yourself, right, and you don't want to act on something. 30 seconds of structured breathing. Breathe in for 3, out for 5, and just lengthening that exhale helps reduce a lot of stress very quickly. So those would be the 2 things I would leave the wing with.
All right, thank you very much. Keeley Speck, thank you again. Keeley Speck with Airman and Family Readiness. You can find her in the 5000 building on the first floor. Oh, Keeley, I heard that you are a purveyor of dad jokes. How about before you go, you give us a dad joke?
2 goldfish are in a tank.
Okay.
And one turns to the other and says, "How the heck do you drive this thing?"
All right. All right. Thank you again, Keeley Speck from Airman and Family Readiness. Did you know there are special tax breaks available for those with a family member who has an exceptionality? You can find out more information like this and other things about this year's tax season on the Airman and Family Readiness newsletter on the 126th Air Refueling Wing SharePoint, including a new interactive W-4 form. I was talking to Travis Barker over at Airman and Family Readiness, and he was telling me that this new interactive W-4 form, you go to it, you can find it online, you can find it on the SharePoint. He has a link to it on that newsletter I was telling you about. You go there, you put in last year's pay, and then you put in your withholdings, where you claim your, if you have a spouse or your kids, and it'll tell you exactly what you're getting back next tax year. And then what you can also do is you can adjust that so that you can get maybe less back at the end of the year or maybe even more back, and it's just a slider. You can go to the SharePoint to find it, go to MSG, then click the FSS, and then you'll find the Airman and Family Readiness on the drop-down menu near the bottom. Thanks for listening to the 126th Air Refueling Wing podcast focused on people, mission, and community. I'm Tech Sergeant Brian Ellison.